Hi, and welcome back to
Inspired to Game. I'm Sean.
And I'm Lola. If you like what you see here, please support our channel by subscribing down below.
And if you've already subscribed, thank you very much. Hit that like button.
Today we are talking about Zaberias. So Zaberias is a 4-player combat fantasy game. So before we get into the game, we'll give you a quick overview of how it's played.
In Zaberias, each player will pick one of 4 tribes: humans, undead, guardians, or orcs. Your player board is all contained within this. So this becomes the player board, which combined with the other players will form the battle map. Inside there are your towers, your units, your money, and your dice. Now the towers and units are divided into levels, starting with wood, and then metal, and all the way up to gold. Each player will start with a wooden tower on their section of map, and 5 coins. On your turn, you will spend money either upgrading your tower or purchasing units. Now each unit, the cost is on the back, as well as any powers if they have any. Once you put a unit on the board, it can move and attack. Movement is based on the number in the lower left corner by the foot icon. Its strength is in the upper left, as well as how many dice you roll for combat. Combat, you will compare your strength and a die roll to your opponent's strength plus a die roll. Highest count wins, and the other unit is removed. Each turn you will also get income based on your towers: 1 for wood, 2 for metal, and 3 for gold. On each player's section of the battle map, there are 3 special spots. The first is a portal, which will lead to any other portal. There is the power spot. If you occupy this location, all of your units gain 1 strength. And lastly is a gold mine. As long as you occupy that during the start of your turn, you gain 1 extra gold as income for each gold mine that you occupy.
So first off, before we get into it, I want to thank Benny Goldstein for sending us a review copy of this game. I saw it and was excited about the artwork. It looks very nice, beautiful colors, and when I looked into how it's played, I figured this was going to be a game that my 10-year-old would love. So when we received it, it was very interesting to see how it was packaged. So each tribe is its own container. The lid of it is the board when you turn it over, and all of the components are inside. So at the bottom you get the dice embedded, and then you have the different layers with the money, and then the characters and the various castles. And I thought it was really interesting how it was laid out, and it also made it very intuitive for play. So you've got the level 1s, 2s, 3s lined out perfectly, and on the flip side of each of the units are both their cost as well as whatever powers that they may have. So that makes it really nice and easy, especially for younger players to get into it, to jump into it.
And we've also learned that the new design is actually to make it part of more of a collectible item. So each of the tribes would be its own collectible and playable unit, so that you could specialize if you were playing this with friends, and somebody could run out and get the dwarf expansion that's coming out, and you could stick with orcs or humans or whatever, and basically specialize in it and make them your own, kind of in the same way as a collectible card game like Magic the Gathering or something like that.
Yeah, when my 10-year-old heard that they are planning on other expansion tribes, his eyes lit up. He was so excited. And he even had his own idea, which I'm going to drop here. He said, pirates, maybe pirates. But right now there's a plan for a dwarf tribe, and I heard rumor that maybe a robot tribe down into the future. Yeah. What's interesting is the design of the game. Each tribe is meant to be balanced with each other. So they all, at the different tiers, level 1, 2, 3, the wood and the metal and then the gold, have powers and abilities, but each one is reflected in each other. So they're all the same, as in they're similar powers, but yet they're each different. So for instance, as I think you mentioned in the overview about the Siphon character, for instance, where one will take on the strength of the characters that he subsumes, whereas another one will take extra dice of the characters he overtakes. The headhunter will add extra money that you get. So they're similar, but yet they're all different. So it creates a whole variety of different kind of play. And what's interesting about that too is it offers actually a really a really great depth to the strategy. And that's actually something that's really surprising, because it looks like such a simple game. And it is, as in, it doesn't take a lot to play it. It is simple, but the strategy has a lot of nuance to it. It has a lot of depth. Like, you could play this for hours and playing through all the different tribes, and it would take you actually quite a long time to really master putting all of the different strategies of the different characters together to maximize its use. And I thought that was really interesting. It actually kind of reminded me of chess in that way. So like chess, it's very easy to play. Our kids knew how to play chess once they were 5 years old, but obviously they're playing at a different level at 5 than an adult would be. And it's kind of the same thing with this. It's simple enough that a 5-year-old can play it, but yet an adult will be playing it with a lot more strategic depth. And there's a lot to work with there for them to do that.
So it's one of those games where easy to learn, very difficult to master. It reminds me very much the different tiers, and I guess a little bit of the artwork kind of reminds me of the Heroes of Might and Magic series, where you had very different towns, I think they were in that, where you might have the necromancer town where it was all the skeletons and zombies and things like that, which is our undead tribe here. And then another town would have cyclops and centaurs and forest creatures. They all had very similar units, but there was a difference in the theme that also made it different strategy that you had to learn and figure out, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if you're interested in looking into it further as far as the different characters, we'll leave links down below to their website, and there's a lot more information. There's also a lot of detailed YouTube videos out there with pretty much everything you'd want to know, because that's what makes this game so interesting, is the varying player powers or character powers that have similar strengths but are different. Like at the higher level, there's the rampaging. In the orcs, there's a rampaging character that just absolutely destroys any character of the first 2 levels that he wanders over. There's the tree one in the Guardians that can actually rotate the board, spin the board, and you can use that pretty amazingly in strategy if you've got all your a bunch of characters lined up in just the right way for that rotation of the board to make a big difference in your gameplay. So there's really a lot going on that you don't really see until you get to look more further at the different player powers. Yeah, and one of the things that is really interesting about the game too is their educational components. So obviously there's things like reading, there's strategic development as well, but there's a strong math component with addition. So when I was first reading that, I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, adding 2 and 3 together, sure, but it actually gets a lot more complicated than that. So when I was playing with my 10-year-old, and especially he's ambushing me with these big guys, and so he's rolling 3 dice here, 3 dice there, this other one's rolling 2, so he's adding these numbers up and these numbers up, and here's 14 and here's 17, well, a lot of numbers anyway, so higher numbers. I don't know if it was 17, but now he's adding some double digits together to get some of these really big numbers. And it was fantastic that he's working on this math, and he's working on his addition skills and being able to do it quickly and not even noticing it because he's having so much fun. And that's a really great thing as a parent to watch your kid not even realizing that they're doing math. That's great.
You learned. Gotcha.
Exactly. So speaking about our 10-year-old, he loved it. He loves this game. It's really fun to play with him. We played with him. I played with him individually, just him and me, him and I, and we played all 3 of us. Did I get that right?
Him and me was right, yeah.
Okay. So we played the 3 of us as well. And it's interesting too, because the game changes a lot at the different player counts. So we didn't manage to do a 4-player count game for this, but between the 2, where it does have more of that, chess feel to to 3, where it's a lot more dynamic, because now there are more of those power places on the board. There's more opponents to go for. It makes it really interesting. The game, our first game, I think took us about 20 minutes with just the 2 of us, and when we played with 3 of us, it was well over an hour, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
It's like about an hour and a half. I'm like,
you know, because you start picking on, well, me. So you start picking on one of your opponents, but as soon as you're concentrating on them, now your second opponent is maybe seeing a weakness in your flank and is trying to exploit it. So you're trying to balance that attack with defense, and
it makes it
and still
pretty
trying
dynamic.
to move the game forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a very dynamic strategy with the 3 players, and you really have to stay on your toes and try and work some of those powers and gain some advantage that way.
So if this sounds like it might be interesting to you, so if you like a head-to-head combat game like this, and don't mind a little bit of luck, but a good amount of strategy as well, you may just want to check out Zaberias. All the information will be in the description below.
Well, thanks for joining us, and check out some of our other videos.
Thanks very much. Happy to have you here. Keep watching, and happy gaming, folks.
Bye.